We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
Welcome back, viewers. It's naked time.
Oh.
We are looking at the episode I, Excretus from Lower Decks on this episode. That was what that intro was about. Weirdly enough, this episode was chosen because it fits the Borg theme that I'm going with for the Series 2, the Borg and Advanced AI, as you'll see when we get into the episode. But we have other things to discuss in the meantime. And first of all, I do have to introduce my guest. My oldest friend has returned, and introduce yourself then, you silly person.
It's me again, it's Steve Brown. Happy to join the mic here on our chat about this episode. Hopefully have fun, yeah.
We haven't really talked Lower Decks, because last time we reviewed a more serious, it was Encounter at Farpoint we reviewed at the start of Series 1, so I think Lower Decks probably matches both of our sense of humours a bit closer, maybe, but we shall see. So anyway, if you're not familiar with the podcast, just to go over it, if you're a first-time listener, it breaks down into sections. We'll go through them as we hit them. Don't worry, it's pretty easy to keep up with. So I will, without any further ado, jump into the very first section, which is like a getting to know you type thing, which I call Hailing Frequencies Open.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Excuse me. As you will probably know if you have been a regular listener, what I've been asking my guests when they were first on is for their top 3 kind of movies or series or episodes anywhere in the franchise. But being that you're a returning guest, I've already asked you that, so I can't ask you that again, even though we've had many discussions about that kind of thing in the past anyway, given how long we've known each other. But so instead, what I've been asking returning guests is to put you on the spot. Could you give me your top 3 characters from anywhere in the Trek franchise?
Oh, God. And I've listened to previous episodes. Why didn't I make a note of that? Favorite characters.
There's a lot of them. It's
I know.
going wild, this franchise.
Yes. I mean, I don't want to pick a main character, really.
Well, you don't. I mean, you can.
Yeah, I can. But, I can just go, all 3 captains would be a bit boring. Who could be in there? That's not a main character.
You just want to be different, don't you? You just want to pick all of the unsung heroes from the Lower Decks of the various ships and stuff.
I mean, I could do that. I was actually thinking Martok.
Okay, that's a pretty big major character. I'll give you a general.
He is, but he's not main cast, shall we say, as in Starfleet crew. Yeah, I know he pretty much becomes main cast, but yeah.
You should have picked Gowron.
That is the other choice because of the eyes. Glory to you and your heart.
And your hearts, yes.
My God, yeah, those eyes. So yeah, let's go. Martok and Gowron, and number 3.
Well, it's the Klingon. That's the big question.
We could go Kang. Kang was always good. Especially his final episode. Yeah, let's just keep it Klingon. There you go. That's your next season. That's your next season. It's Klingon season.
So your top 3 characters are genuinely Martok, Gowron, and Kang?
You put me on the spot, and I went Klingon.
Klingon gets fair enough.
Done,
if you're a fan of the Klingons, then yeah, cool. Weirdly enough, I literally just watched Kang's first episode this week. Day of the Dove from the original series. Very good episode. Never gets enough credit, I don't think. It's one of my faves. I just like the idea of that it says, stop hating, and then the creature will not be able to get to you, kind of thing. So, yeah, very good. And as you say, he appeared, a couple of times in DS9? Or one time in DS9, once in Voyager. So yeah.
Was he in Voyager?
He was briefly in flashback when they go to the Excelsior. And he's kind of... He's guarding Klingon space when Sulu's trying to see what happened to the exploding moon and stuff. So, yeah. Believe it or not.
Now I was thinking at least a couple of DS9 episodes.
I think you might be thinking of Core. He did a few, because I think Kang was only in Blood Oath. Core, I know, came back for like Sword of Kahless and Once More Into the Breach.
You're right. Yeah. I was thinking it must have been at least been one of 3 that was in there, but yeah, you're right.
Kang, Koth, and Core, yeah. So you changing your answer from Kang to Core then in that case.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to be weird and awkward, you're just still going to stick with Kang. Why not?
Especially the final episode where he's just to change the entire topic of the show. That final episode where he's been a bit of a fool. Everyone's like, Martok still thinks he's crap and hates him.
That
and
was
at the end of the
cool.
episode- Oh, I don't know. They're all Klingons. I can't tell the difference.
Racist much, honestly. All Klingons look alike to you, do they? You dishonorable Patak.
On the enemy back there, of course I do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll say Kang / Core along with Martok and Gowron. Then that's fair enough. You bizarre person. Most people are like, "Oh, this character meant a lot to me because they represent my struggle to fit in," or "I modeled myself on this character." You're like, "I just picked 3 random Klingons. Why
Put me on the spot. I picked some random people."
That's fair enough. Well, it's going to be in for a fun one, I think. But yeah, so
I have a story for you if you prep me on this.
A story? What was that?
I don't know. I could have thought of a story.
I just made up why you like them.
Picked a character. Had a bit of thought, and yes, as you said, think about maybe why they had some meaningful impact in my life. You never know. As it is.
You've always liked Klingons.
Yeah.
Oh well. Just to not jump us ahead too quickly, then, because just for my own particular fun, have you been keeping up with the second series of Picard?
I have. Yes.
Awesome.
Obviously, yesterday now.
Yeah. Spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it, then. But I was just curious what your thoughts are 4 episodes into series 2.
I love the first episode. I thought loads of potential. Now I don't know, they haven't quite, but they've sort of slowed it down a bit, and they're now telling the story.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see where it's going to go.
Okay, fair enough. I see what you're saying. I don't think it's that bad, and I think the next episode 5, is going to be a huge one. Like everything's going to kick off, and it'll introduce all of the characters that we still haven't seen yet and how they play into things and such.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to the next episode before it comes out. But I'm wanting. There's sort of we've sort of got an end point that we think might be the end point, but it's probably not going to be the end point. And then it's throwing in lots of little things all the way through, and like, what could this mean? What could this mean? If it was a Marvel show, I'd presume it was Mephisto, but obviously it's not. So
it was Agatha all along. Agatha's the secret Borg queen.
Exactly. Oh, spoiler alert. Indeed.
Out of curiosity, who is your best guess, as if we all don't already basically know this now, for who that secretive Borg queen is in episode 1?
Actually, no. Who do you think it is? You said that. I'm not really put too much thought on it.
I'm 99% sure it's Agnes.
I mean, there's a possibility there. I get what you're saying. She's the Borg queen is certainly trying to get a claws into her own things.
Yeah. Otherwise, that plot doesn't really have it isn't going anywhere, and that seems like that's going to be the circling back to where we started in episode 1. But we'll see it through other Agnes's eyes or whatever, and she'll be revealed to be the new Borg queen or whatever. Yeah, I can see that happening for sure.
Remind me then, has Picard had a conversation with Agnes about his mother?
I don't think he has yet, but in fairness, they were just at the chateau together, where he was talking about the various family members, and
true. But then, he could have then,
Yeah, it's reasonable to assume they could have off screen, but even if not, there's still 4 or 5 more episodes that they can happen in if they wanted it to. And plus, I mean, to be fair, if you've got access to the Borg Collective, Picard's memories are probably still in there from when he was.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Overthought this clearly, but yeah, fair enough. So yeah, a couple of other. I'm loving a lot of the Easter eggs and stuff. You've got to love some of those that have been appearing in the last couple of episodes. I know it hasn't been as action packed when they've been time traveling, but you've got to have noticed the punk on the bus from Star Trek 4.
I was waiting for a Vulcan nerve pinch, especially as we mentioned that on the fundraiser the other.
I forgot which channel it was called, but yeah, for the Ukrainian fundraiser, we did talk about. We discussed top 10 movies, and we talked about Star Trek 4 at length. Yeah,
that was I think that was my favorite scene as well. But yeah,
it's a
that
great
was
scene,
good.
and I give them such props for it's the same actor and everything. They've got
Was it?
man, it's,
I didn't
yeah,
realise
completely.
that.
Yeah, it's the same exact guy. I mean, he's a fairly famous guy for other reasons because obviously he was like a bit part actor back in the day. But since he's worked his way up, he's like an executive at Jim Henson. He does various like Muppet projects and stuff.
All right.
And he's like he's constantly on social media. I've had some back and forth with him talking about did you ever do any work on Farscape, and it turns out not, or whatever. But so he's a fairly known commodity. But yeah, just the fact that he dyed his hair and everything back to the ginger mohawk to do that one little callback. And he's been on Twitter since then, just like, I'm absolutely loving it. He's changed his profile picture to the kind of the newer version of the punk with the ghetto blaster. I was like, this is brilliant. I love it. I also love that the last 2 episodes, because they've dealt with time travel, I find it hilarious that they were directed by Marty McFly's mum.
Nice.
It's a very nice touch. She's a very good director as well. Directed a few Stargirls and things like that, the superhero shows. So she's done a very good job. But, fair enough. On a similar subject, and what do you make of the recast, the 3rd actress to play the Borg Queen? Not the secret hidden one, but the one that we've actually had to see strung up.
Yeah, no. Doing a good job. Like the subtle changes to the makeup and things. Each one is slightly different.
Yeah.
Not sure what race she's supposed to be.
But we never know that, do we? I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
Sometimes they look very humanoid, but they're obviously always probably some random Delta-codant race, probably, or something like that.
They say in Unimatrix Zero the designation, and she said she's species 180 or something, but it's not human anyway. Put it that way, but we don't know what it is. Yeah. It just looks like it. But yeah, I'm the same. I find it a bit jarring because the actress, she's a really good actress that I've liked in other stuff, but she's not like the other 2 performances.
Yeah.
And I'm now realizing why is that basically she's supposed to be seducing Agnes for the entirety of this series, I reckon. So it's like, okay. So she can't really be like brutal, vicious. It's got to be like, ooh, come with us. We can all be friends. Ooh.
Yeah.
You've been lonely a while.
This just sort of there behind being menacing
and
manipulative. You've not really needed the Borg Queen to do that much.
No, well, she had an entire army at her back, as she said. So,
exactly, yeah. So this is her when she's by herself, cut off from the collective, probably as well. Yeah.
Well, completely. Yeah, she said she goes. Well, this is one of the issues that I have in terms of continuity is that like there's no collective anymore. She's the last one, but now they've traveled back in time. She could easily, presumably, just get in touch with them again.
Yeah, she's got future. Well, is it future tech? I suppose it is.
Well, yeah, it is. It's future from the alternate timeline or whatever, but it's there. Having said that, slight spoiler alert, I have seen a clip from next week's episode, which is basically, it's only a minute or so, but it's the Borg Queen hacking into and accessing mobile phone towers. So I'm like, oh, hang on. Is she going to try and contact the Borg Collective in this area? And
did she invent 5G? Do I have to worry?
Yes. That's exactly what happened. But
Borg Queen's behind 5G. You heard it here first.
I do like the. I'm really intrigued because I haven't got a clue what's happening with it. But the fact that Q doesn't seem to have his powers anymore. As of the end of the last
saw
episode.
that. Yeah.
What's going on?
He was sitting there whispering away at that woman. I thought maybe he's trying to actually put like negative thoughts in our head or something like that.
I think that's what he was thinking he was trying to do. Yeah. But,
and then she
apparently. I found out by looking on the internet, because apparently it was in the subtitles, that woman is a character called Renee Picard, who is Picard's ancestor, who's going to be like central to everything. And I was like, okay. They didn't make that particularly clear, other than the fact she's reading a Dixon Hill book, I guess.
I was looking, I couldn't quite see the title of it properly. I know that it was Dixon Hill, but I was like,
I can't remember the exact title, the palette something, but it's definitely a Dixon Hill book. And nice reference to Jackson Roykirk from the Nomad probe from the original series in there as well. Lots of cool little things. And the internet is ablaze with queries about this woman who looks like Laris and the means that she took Picard away somewhere. So what are your thoughts on that then, just before I move on? Quickly?
Yeah, I mean, where to start there? Obviously, he hasn't got the ears, but that's something that can change. But then, like that shadow cube transporty, extra dimensional timey-wimey thing.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, a lot of people on the internet think they know. They think they've solved it based on a few things that were said and the way that looks.
Enlighten me.
Do you recall the original series episode Assigned Earth? It's not a popular episode. It's pretty terrible, and it was supposed to be a backdoor pilot for a different series.
No.
But it has the character of Gary Seven, basically, who's he's on Earth in the 60s to try and like protect a space launch or something. He has a cat that transforms into a woman and a lot of futuristic technology, and he basically opens rectangular portals with like smoke effects and stuff. And he was said to be like a supervisor who was watching, through time that was put there by aliens or something. So everyone's like, she's going to be like another version of Gary Seven or one of his type of supervisors. So yeah, I don't know if I like that or not. I like it if they're going to do something good with an episode that I absolutely hate, because I don't like that episode at all. But yeah, we'll see, I guess. My initial thought when I first saw it was something like Iconians, and then I was like, no, that's dumb. They don't look anything like that. So maybe not.
I mean, to be going Iconians, but to have started with the Borg. I mean, yes, they could say, the Borg Queen is a assimilated Iconian, and that's why she needs the power and all that, because they're largely energy-based beings and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think I've got a feeling it is going to be this weird Gary Seven connection. So if you have never seen Assignment Earth or haven't seen it for many a year, it might be worth having a look. Unfortunately, you poor thing, because it's not a great episode, let me tell you. I mean, it's fun in that kind of like they were blatantly wanted to make a different 1960s sci-fi virtual comedy show type thing, but it's not good. And it's one of those times when it just opens with the Enterprise in orbit of 1960s Earth, and it's like, we've just traveled back on a mission to just find some data, some information. Like, what? Since when? Starfleet's just like, let's have a pop back to the 60s, have a quick look, why not?
Yeah, they did love that. Well, that's why Kurt will have that massive file that they always refer to.
Absolutely, just Temple Investigations,
That's
a menace.
Exactly. They just pops back just to check on something. What colour was this flower?
Fair enough. That's all right. Well, I'll move us on then, because that's probably going to have bored people to death for this intro section. But I'll move us on to the next section. As you will know, if you're a regular listener, is the hit or miss section, and it's what gives the podcast its name. Basically, I will fire out 6 or 7 things from anywhere in the Trek universe to my guest who has no idea what's coming. So it is very much putting them on the spot. I will ask if you think it's a hit or a miss, Stephen. You can tell me what you think, and then I'll tell you what I think. We can debate back and forth if necessary. Let's see. I think I've got 7 for this week. I have tried to fit in things that might relate to the Borg and AI because of the theme of the season, but I'm kind of running out. So forgive me. There's only a couple of rather vague connections here, but yeah, you'll see when we get to them. So are you ready for your first hit or miss question?
Hit me.
What about my performance?
The first thing then for today, if you remember this, is the Voyager episode Prototype. Hit or miss?
Yeah, considering I've been watching Voyager and I can't recall that episode.
It's in series 2, and it's basically a robot kind of race guy asks B'Elanna to reactivate his species, but it turns out he's at war with a different robot species.
Yeah, two races been fighting each other, made these. Let's go.
How long was it? How long ago was it when you watched series 2?
Got a month. Not that long.
You can't even remember it that well, though.
Yeah, that's why I'm going with miss. It's Okay, I recall
fair
it.
enough.
Literally, as soon as I saw a picture of the character, when I quickly had a Google, I was like, "All right, that episode."
Yeah, the trailer and the
cool.
graphic.
It was interesting, but then it's like, oh, okay. You sort of saw where it was going.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree. I like it. I think it's a hit. It's one of my favorites of just those random episodes that nobody talks about, because I just like the interaction between B'Elanna and the whatever it is prototype unit guy. There's a cool scene where she talks about Data and how he's got perfect rights, and this robot guy was like, I would like to meet this Data. And I thought it was an interesting twist when she basically just has to create and then kill her own creation when she realizes, you're just fighting this endless war as the machines of another species. Well, that's been done before. Especially in Star Trek, but I thought it was an interesting take on things. And I think anytime you give B'Elanna an episode, it tends to be really good because she's a good actress anyway. But yeah, I especially liked the guest star of the week that was doing the robot was pretty cool as well, I thought. And that's about all I can say about that. So yeah, but as you say, if you didn't find it very memorable, then it's going to be hard to say that you particularly liked it. So I guess we'll have to call it one miss and one hit on that one. Yeah, fair enough. maybe just go back and give it a watch, viewers and listeners, if you haven't, because I personally think it's quite good. It's not one of the best, but it's a good enough little episode.
It's a decent
Excuse
filler episode. It's sort of what I think a lot of Star Trek is missing these days, because it's all very story driven for a season.
There's no fillers, is there?
Yeah, you don't get fillers with where they just tackle or just shine the light on just an issue or some aspect of a life or society, which is what I think the Star Trek always did well. And
I think it's doing it well, but it's, as you say, it's in service of one overall story, because there was a couple of really good moments in this week's Picard episode that did a good job of that. But as you say, you don't really have a filler that's like just that kind of story is the kind of thing you get in the Orville nowadays. An episode like Prototype, I would say, rather than what you get in the Trek series. Until, fingers crossed, Strange New Worlds, which apparently they're promising will be more episodic and not like one ongoing story. So you never know. We'll hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the second thing on the list then. My second thing for this week is the USS Stargazer NCC 2893, which is the Constellation class ship from Next Generation. Hit or miss?
The original, hit. I think it was nice to see a new design of a starship.
Okay.
And obviously, going back and seeing the actual episode itself wasn't that bad. I thought the orb thing was a bit, but
I get what you mean. But they had to have some kind of means that the Ferengi were mind controlling Picard. So
yeah, I definitely prefer how Ferengi became with their characters and the rewrite basically when it came to DS9 and that sort of onwards. The original Ferengi were a bit like. They were supposed to be replacing the Klingons, and then they just realized they weren't that good of an enemy, because it was like they were supposed to be a really huge, terrible threat, and then I think they were like, it's not working. We'll just give up on that one. So yeah. I don't know. They've always been they're there. They are potentially a threat, but what reason have they got? Other than profit, really, they're a bit.
Well, in that case, they tried to give the guy he wanted vengeance on Picard for what was it, killing his son in battle or something like that.
Yeah,
yeah. They're slightly off topic, but yeah, the Stargazer design are you a fan of then the original thing?
Yeah, I mean, I like what they did with it in the newer episode, but yeah.
Well, it's not the same ship, but yeah.
Well, no, but it's still the same name,
same basic idea. So you're a fan of the kind of 4 nacelles look then?
It's different compared to all the other ones you'd seen beforehand. Because all you'd really seen of like the older style ships, obviously the Constitution, Miranda, and then there was this one with the 4 nacelles and things.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the same. I think it's a hit. Probably a little bit softer than you because I don't like the fact that the interior looked too old and it was blatantly just redresses of like the movie sets and the battle bridge and stuff. So inside it was perhaps a little bit too rickety and crappy looking. But I like the design. I like how it's got quite a thick saucer section, and I do not mind the 4 nacelle thing. It looks really good. Sometimes it doesn't on some ships, but on that one, I think it works really well. And as you say, the when it actually does the Picard maneuver, I think the profile of it having the 4 nacelles really helps it to look like it's like blasting through space in a millisecond or whatever. So it's a really cool visual when that happens as well. So
yeah,
okay.
It's quite large as well if you think about it compared to.
Yeah, I guess. But
a picture of it alongside the Enterprise D, and actually that's quite large.
Yeah, it's not a small ship, definitely not. No, no. Well, when you think how big a Galaxy class is, it would have to be pretty big, and it is Picard's first command. So yeah. Okay, fair enough. Well, I'll jump us to number 3 then, because that's basically linked, and you'll never guess. It is basically the USS Stargazer NCC 82893 from Star Trek Picard. Hit or miss?
I'm actually just looking at some pictures of it.
Nice. I will put pictures up when I edit to put them in for people to see. But,
I like it as well. I've never seen a good explanation of why it has 4 nacelles.
It's just one of those things. I remember I read somewhere that Gene Roddenberry, when he was writing down the sort of Bible of things that will happen, he said that starships always have to have an even number of nacelles. So you could only have like 2 or 4. But then obviously after he died, they were like, screw it. There's ships with 3. There's ships with 1. The Prometheus has like 5, I think, if you count the little extra one and stuff. So
that's true.
that
Yeah,
kind
the
of
one from the top eye.
Yeah. But so I think it was basically to stick with the idea of like, well, we want to do something different than just 2 nacelles, but we've got to, because of Gene, we've got to keep it within an even number, so it became 4. And it does look pretty good. I mean, it's not terrible.
Oh yeah, I mean symmetry at least. Everyone likes a bit of
Yeah.
symmetry on things. But no, I like it. Yeah, it's nice. Obviously the warp nacelles are sort of like clustered in behind the saucer section. They're all spread out behind it. But
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the thing that gives me a little bit of pause. I want to like it, and I do. I would still say hit, but I don't like the way that they attach the 4 nacelles to the saucer. It looks like there's too much going on. It's a bit of a mess. It's all like bundled in, and they could have done with streamlining it a little bit more. Well, to my eye anyway, it looks like you could have done with maybe an extra bit of drive section or something to connect it to, instead of just sticking everything in one place like that.
Well,
and then that's where the shuttle bay is as well.
Yeah, they've got the shuttle bay there. Otherwise, you'd probably end up having some sort of block behind the saucer section, which they'd all connect to, rather than sort of sandwiching on the top and the bottom of the saucer, which is how it looks. Certainly in the images I'm just flipping through at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not my favorite design, but I would still say it's a hit, and I'm really just chuffed that they actually did make a new ship and the effort that's went into it. You can see, again, by following the kind of production staff and on Twitter and stuff, you can see there is genuine effort, and they've thought about everything from what kind of interiors and windows it would have to what it would look like on the outside to making sure it fit in with sort of starships. And when we compare it to the cut and paste, like, oh, that'll do of the end of Series 1, it's orders of magnitude better, isn't it? So you can't really fault them for that. So
yeah, definitely.
I think it'll grow on me probably a little bit more as we go on, but yeah, I like how it looks modern and new and cool from the outside. So yeah, not my favorite, but I'll still say hit. So
yeah,
you're seeing the same, yeah?
Absolutely.
Awful. Fair enough. Okay.
We're agreeing. What's going on? Oh.
Well, we disagreed on the first one and then agreed twice. We'll see. I have a feeling we might well agree on the next one, but the number 4 on the list then for today is the Captain Proton holodeck program. Hit or miss?
Hit.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Just a hit, isn't it?
Great fun. Great fun. I'm changing one of my options. We're going to get rid of that one. The Klingon I didn't really know, and we're going to go with the robot from Dr. Proton.
Invaders from the 5th dimension.
Yeah, absolutely. That robot. Obviously, it's just a guy in a tube, but it's just the sort of characteristics he manages to throw in that. Yeah.
It's really hard to do physical type comedy as well, but I'm thinking of the moment when he's like, invaders, and Paris just like slaps him and just goes, shut up, and he just walks away going, invaders?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? If anybody's ever seen like old Flash Gordon type series and stuff, which I'm getting more into again at the moment. I've liked them in the past, and I'm just looking at kind of classic sci-fi and stuff, and you've got to love how faithful it is to sort of how cheesy a lot of that older stuff was. And any chance to basically have an episode like Bride of Chaotica where you make Janeway dress up like the queen of the spider people and try to seduce this random Mingdy merciless version of a character is just so good.
His clever fiendishness.
The death ray. Awesome. And I will say I've got the model of Captain Proton's rocket ship, even though I hadn't intended to, because it was like reduced to like £4, and it's really, really good. It came and I was like, damn, this is actually really impressive. Way more so than it should be for something that's designed to look crap. Yeah, I like that. I think that was a good use of the holodeck, because they tried a few different things in Voyager, and I think that's probably the most successful. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that was a big thing with Voyager. Obviously, the DS9 had it with like VIX and stuff like that.
Eventually, yeah.
And Next Gen had obviously the usual, a few episodes and the Dixon Hill bits and things like that. But I think that's one of the things that made Voyager, where they could have stuff that was going on that wasn't on the ship. You know, rather than just visiting a planet all the time, they could just go in. They had a lot of stuff on the holodeck.
It was weird to me that they kept the same. It tended to go per season or two, though. So you can look at like the first couple of seasons are the bar in Paris with the pool hall that they ended up in. Yeah. And then the third season is the random like Hawaiian luau type thing. The fourth season is the Da Vinci program. The 5th and 6th seasons are Proton, and then the 7th season, I think they were just. Oh no, the 6th season, I think they introduced Fairhaven as well. So it was, delete the wife and all that, her gubbins. I think Captain Proton was the best of those, and it really gave you a chance for some cool stuff. And it was believable that Tom and Harry would be, let's be honest, playing games like that in their spare time.
Yeah.
So, okay. Are we ready for a bit of controversy then for number 5 today?
Okay, hit me.
I know you don't necessarily spend as much time on social media and in the Trek sort of circles as I do, and a lot of people do, but you would not believe how much of a debate this has become on the internet. So I'm just going to ask you straight up: carpets on starships, hit or miss?
I'm trying. What else would we have? Like lino?
Well, the new Stargazer doesn't have carpets, and people are really not happy about it because they've just got like metallic floors, basically.
I don't care. It's floor.
That was basically my reaction as well.
Yeah, I mean carpets. I mean they could make all sorts in the future, and they'd be hard wearing and last forever. Blah blah blah.
Of course, yeah.
But
because people have got used to it, I think because of the aesthetic with the Enterprise D, it was so 1980s that obviously they've got like, I've said this before, but it looks like the bridge looks like the lobby of an 80s hotel. So of course they've got carpet down, you know what I mean? It wasn't designed to look like a spaceship. And I think I prefer things like the NX-01 Enterprise or the new Stargazer, where it's like, no, you're on an actual naval vessel of some kind, you wouldn't have carpet under your foot. You're not on a freaking luxury cruise. But whatever.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think in certain situations, like maybe in engineering, you probably don't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it's also potentially just like a tripping hazard or whatever if you have got it down. You know what I mean?
I mean,
so why bother?
If they can't keep your carpet down in the 24th century or later, you've got problems.
Why introduce the potential? You know what I mean? But yeah, there was a whole video on. I know you do watch the Trek Yards guys sometimes. They did an entire video about like this, what it would look like if they'd put carpet on a Stargazer, and wouldn't it be better? And I was like, I don't care. It doesn't look that different to me. Are people really getting? And like I said, the internet, like Twitter and stuff, went absolutely ablaze with people like, it's ridiculous. You should put a carpet down. I can't believe the new Stargazer doesn't have carpet. Like the poor guys that designed it had been all over the internet with like all the specifics and the specifications and everything, and then just felt really bad for them because everyone was like, oh, I don't care what you've done. It hasn't got carpet, so it doesn't look right. Oh, come on. Really?
I mean, I can certainly see where they might come from there. There's certain aesthetic that you expect on a starship, but why can't you change that? I mean, like, the Defiant was a warship, escort ship. So why did that have carpet?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, why do any of them? But it's one of those things I'm not overly fussed about bridge windows, but some people get really bent out of shape about it. But I can understand that a lot more than I can understand I need to have carpet on the bridge or whatever. Like, no, you don't really. It doesn't make any difference. Like, if before I mentioned it, I guarantee you didn't know that there wasn't carpet down on the Stargazer bridge.
No, I can't say during that entire thing I ever bothered to look at the floor. I'm now looking at a picture and going, oh yeah, it's a bit shiny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you don't notice that kind of thing, do you? And I mean,
no.
Yeah, for me, I would say in terms of carpets on starships, I'm, for hit or miss argument's sake, yes, it's a hit. It looks good where they've got them, but I also don't think it's necessary, and I don't care either way. It would be the ultimate thing, I'd say.
That's it. I mean, what else do you make the 4 out of plastic?
Well, transparent aluminium or whatever. I guess I don't know.
But oh god, you don't want your deck plate and they be transparent. What if someone's doing something beneath you or above you, and you look up, or look down, and go, "Oh my god!" Plus, there's cables and all sorts running under there. That's something like engineering and stuff like that. I understand why they might have something a bit more robust, something that's metal or grating and stuff like that. But I was also thinking, the episode of Voyager where they go to the lower decks, that was a lot more, for want of a better term, industrial. And didn't have carpet and stuff like that down, I think.
I can't remember. I know the episode you're talking about, Good Shepherd, but I can't remember it, to be perfectly honest.
So
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's probably not placed everywhere, but certainly you might maybe on the bridge as they're doing there. But
I still don't think it's necessary. I mean, like I said, the Stargazer bridge, yes, maybe it's a little bit too shiny would be the only complaint. So you could maybe make it look a bit worn. but there's nothing wrong with just having like a metallic steel or whatever floor. Because, like I said, it's a spaceship. You wouldn't walk onto a Navy submarine or a aircraft carrier and be like, "Oh, I don't like it. There's no carpet down."
I mean, the poor guy's got to stand around with like a buffing machine on like the night shift, buffing that out. As opposed to the guy who, they could have a future Roomba that just goes around at night doing the carpet.
They've probably got a dot 19 or whatever that just goes around and buffs the floors for them.
That's exactly true. Yeah. So as soon as I said that, I was like, actually, yeah, they probably just have a bot that did it, or just be a random phaser sweep or something like a really low setting that got rid of dirt or something.
It would, wouldn't it? It would be like, oh, okay, 2 minutes, just. There we go, nice and shiny. We did a baryon sweep or whatever it's called.
That's exactly what the baryon sweep's for. To clean the carpets. That was it. Never mind all the particles and all that. That only ever mentioned that one episode. It was just to clean the carpets.
It was. You didn't see it, but there was a bunch of like random maids that just ran onto the ship. They were pretending it was a big beam, but they were just running back there like, quick, steam it. Get some soap down. Get the carpets clean. Picard's coming back. Anyway. I've got two more.
I was going to say hit, but I'm changing that to really, I don't care. People should get alive.
Well, I'm going to jump on board and say the same thing. So there we go. I'm never normally that harsh.
So we agree, and that's the main thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm never normally, like I said, that harsh to people, but in this situation, I really am like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You know what I mean? You'd have to be a special level of nerd.
And things like that. More reflective surfaces and things like that. But yeah,
I'm not fussed, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, if it really bothers you, then fair play to you. I'm sorry, I guess. But yeah, anyway, as I say, I've got a couple of more. So the sixth one, first of all, I'll have to ask you the question: have you seen Star Trek Prodigy yet?
I've watched the first couple of episodes.
Okay.
So
of course you've done that legally because you travelled to America, clearly. The same way that I've watched the entire series. I was over there, No.
Yeah. The time, you voted because anyone could vote there.
So the number 6 on my list for today, anyway, then from Prodigy was the character of Jankom Pog. Would you call him a hit or a miss?
Oh. I've only watched it once.
And you probably only watched like the first 2 episodes, right?
Yeah, there's the first couple. Probably.
Did you not like it? Why didn't you carry on with it, by the way?
I don't know. There's a few shows
travel
recently.
to the States?
Yeah, I couldn't fly back. There's been a few shows recently where I've just been like, okay, that was all right. And then I've just moved on and done something else, watched something else.
I will say Prodigy gets really good to the point where I think it's my favorite of the new sort of post-Enterprise Trek series. It gets super impressive. It starts off like, it's a kid's show and you're setting up the characters, but then it gets stupidly good. So
yeah, I think once the season's done, and as you've just said, it must be done because you watched it all. I might just
it depends how you look at it, because there's 10 episodes done, but they're like, does that constitute a season, or is it like half a season, and then when they come back for the next 10, is that the season? I don't know how they're working it out, but
yeah, they're all like the really tiny seasons where they don't really fill much and charge twice as much for it.
Exactly.
So it's the pig guy.
He's a Tellarite.
Does he? That pig guy.
Yeah.
I can't honestly say I really remember enough about the character. He was one of the other ones. Yeah. Okay. Let's go miss.
Okay. I'm going to say I really like the character. I'm going to say hit because the voice actor is a really good comedian who I like, and I think he's got like the comedy chops. So even when he's not getting stuff, Jason Mantzoukas, that's right. Yeah.
I don't have a list of the picture up here of them all. Which character they are and things.
So yeah, I really like his kind of delivery and everything of the character, and I think I like that Pog is like he's the kind of happy-go-lucky, nothing will phase him character. Like he's got a metal arm because his arm got ripped off and stuff, and yet he's the kind of cheerful engineer type that's like, Jankum will do it. I'll help you out. He never seems phased by anything, so I'm like, yeah, I like that dude. He'd be the kind of dude you'd love to just hang out with and maybe have a drink or two. But yeah, so that would be my thoughts on the character after the first 10 episodes. At least we'll see what happens beyond that, I guess. But yeah, excuse me. So the last thing on the list for today then is an episode of Star Trek Next Generation, and it's the episode The Most Toys. Hit or miss?
The Most Toys. Is that the one who collects data?
It is. Yes. Do you remember it? That's is
yeah.
one
It hit. It's one of those random aside ones, but it's got all the random things. I'm gonna say hit. I can't. I remember the episode. I don't. Obviously, he gets kidnapped, but they think he's dead. But then they find out he's not dead. They come find him, and he's killing his crew. And Data's trying to resist, and by just sitting in a chair, not moving, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, not a bad episode. Nice little thing of giving some more character to Data, really.
Oh, I see. I would rave about this episode. I love it. I love that the guy's really intense and like he's trying to goad Data, as you said, by like killing his own sort of crew woman or whatever to get to him, and he's trying to get an emotional response out of Data, I guess, in a way, and it really helps you with Data's development, because as you said, the fact that he's clever enough to be like, I'm just going to sit here, and then it looks like you've got nothing. When you're like, look at my super advanced android, he's just sat there like a teddy bear, like won't do anything, and just being petulant like that in that wonderful way. But I think what makes the episode for me is the fact that he, at the very end of the episode, Data has the chance to shoot and kill the guy, and they beam him back to the Enterprise, and it's like, oh, it turns out there was an ongoing weapon that we had to deactivate, and Data's like, oh, it must have been activated by the transporter by accident, but it's never made explicit to the audience at all if that is the case, or if Data was just pushed so far that he actually was just willing to kill the guy and had fired at him. And I'm like, oh, I love that.
I reckon Data pulled it.
You think he did it?
Why not? Why not?
I mean, it was the logical thing to do. This guy was clearly doing more harm than good in the universe when you think about it. So, Kivas Farjo, the guy. But yeah, no, I love the episode. I think it's very intense. It's really emotional, especially as you say when they think Data has been blown up in a shuttle, so they think he's lost as well. So there's kind of looks like there's no hope. And then great guest star, great episode. Highly recommend. So yeah, hit and severe hit, I would say, for that one. Then. So, awesome. That's fair enough. Any last thoughts before we jump to the next part then?
No, I'm good. Yeah, happy with the options so far.
Cool. Well, I'll move us to the next section then. The next section will be the actual main episode review, and I will begin analysis. So, the episode, as I've mentioned in question this week, to fit into the Borg theme, because it does, is the episode I, Excretus from Lower Decks. And what I've been doing this season, or this series, I've been starting off with just a few random fast facts about the episode, in case anybody's interested, rather than just like having cold review all the time. So apologies if you find it boring, but I do only have like 3 quick facts about the episode to let people know. The first fact about this one is that the title obviously echoes iRobot, and it's also similar to the word locutus, because like that word, excretus is Latin, meaning to have separated, but it's also similar to the English word excrete, meaning to defecate. So it's both clever and a poop joke, which I think there's no finer example of what Lower Decks is trying to do than clever Latin joke, poop joke, within the same title. So, where are we? Number 2 for my fast facts then. How's this for a deep cut? Shari Yun Yem, who you can see on Steven's little icon there, is only the second Pandronian to ever appear in Star Trek after Ari Bunbem from the eponymous animated series episode Bem. And Pem's outfit is nearly identical to the one worn by Bem. And in both cases, they can split themselves into 3 in that weird way, have like a head and a body and whatever just floating about. So, have you ever, by the way, seen that episode of the animated series, Stephen?
No, I've never watched any of the animated series.
Oh, so you had no idea what this was a reference to then, with being basically the same as Bem?
No. Well, of course,
they're
obviously referring to them, and it's like, okay. Well, then I'm guessing because there was some sort of wires coming over, just some sort of artificial creature. No? What's the wires about them?
I don't see any. I don't can separate. I never really saw any wires or anything on it.
Yeah, they're coming from our legs, our hips, sort of. That's why I thought we should maybe sort of slightly artificial in some way.
Not that I can recall, but it has been a long time since I've seen the episode BEM. But I don't recall being artificial anyway. That's just like a species that can weirdly do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the speech patterns and everything and the way that they talk and look are copied exactly from that animated series episode. So as you said, the way that she's like, this one wants to do this or whatever. So yeah, fair enough. Well, maybe if you get a chance to watch any of the animated series, you could do. But
I'll have to catch up with Prodigy first. There you
go. That's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the animated series is not always great. But yeah, I love the fact that there's so many references to it in Lower Decks because they're clearly fans. So this is one of the most obvious glaring ones, but there's references throughout it. The giant Vulcan skeleton in one of the series 2 episodes is a reference to the animated series as well, for example. And yeah, look it up if you're interested. It's worth a go. But finally, fast fact number 3 then. For this episode, a hologram of another crossover character appears, the Borg Queen, obviously in this episode, voiced by the character's original actress, Alice Krieger, and her appearance for Boimler mirrors Data's exact experience with her in Star Trek First Contact. So, yeah, weird that as we've been discussing, like, recasting the Borg Queen with a new actress for Picard, this was the original actress who first played her in the movie who came back to do the voice. So, impressive, I think. Awesome. So any thoughts on those facts and figures that you wanted to let us know? Or?
Oh, the last one was interesting, definitely. Obviously, having not seen the animated one, didn't get that at all. But yeah,
fair enough.
The voices always, because the characters for the Borg Queen generally seem to be the same. And they sort of look similar. Certainly the ones from
Voyager,
Voyager, and then the one from First Contact that did try to look very much like the same.
Well, yeah, they swapped those actresses out and nobody really noticed because they recast her for Voyager, but then the actress that they'd recast couldn't do the Voyager finale, so they brought back Alice Krieg from the movie for the last episode of Voyager, and nobody seems to have even noticed because they looked so similar anyway.
Yeah,
so it's like, oh, well, why worry?
Yeah, you can certainly see they are the Borg Queen, but they are also the same character. Whereas obviously the newer Picard, they are a different Borg Queen.
A different Queen, yeah, completely. Yeah, but I thought it was a nice touch that they actually got the original actress to come and do the voice, and that's something else they've been doing. I know that I think somewhere in the first series, they have John Delancey as Q for like a very quick joke in one of the episodes where they're just like, Q, we don't have time for this, go away. He's like, but I'm bored. Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the episode just in chronological order. If I hit anything, or if I pass anything you wanted to talk about, just give me a shout back or whatnot. I'll try not to hit everything exactly, otherwise we'll be here forever. But yeah, anyway, the episode opens with the quite an amusing teaser where they're doing like what looks like repairs or something in their spacesuits. They're talking about how they're all one great team, and then the 4 lower deckers get left behind when somebody else picks up a distress call. So it just does off. I think it's so funny, and there's something. Tony Newsom's such a good comedy actress, but there's something about her delivery of, well, so they're gone. So how much oxygen do we have? Like ballpark.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
See, watching that show, it's exactly what they would do.
Exactly.
Yeah, like,
it's quite relatable. We've all had jobs where we felt like, if I got left behind, my manager wouldn't know us. So I kind of feel, there's a lot of relatability that you don't get in a lot of the Star Trek.
Well, the fact that we're freezing to death almost after 6 hours, I didn't quite get, but it was funny.
It's just so that she can, like you say, she can butt heads with her mum when they do come back and then have the argument with Ransom about how, it was because you didn't follow protocols. We didn't know you were there because you hadn't signed out your boots or whatever kind of clerical crap. But
what? But you must have sent them out there to do it.
Who knows how these things work? But yeah, just an excuse to have them bickering and then for them to say that they find the lower decks to be too disposable, which it's just purely to set up the sitcom idea that we'll get to later of like, you should do my job for a day or whatever. But anyway, we'll get there. So that leads us just past the credits when we meet this new Pandronian, Yem, who is initiating tests. And as I said, that's basically, it's the classic sitcom idea that they've basically just written down on a board somewhere of like, walk a mile in my shoes, we're switching roles or whatever. I was like, it's not unique, but, you can have a Star Trek twist on it, so we'll see how they do, I guess. And In terms of Easter eggs as well, there's multiple episode titles on the wall of the various simulations that they're doing. So
I have that up right now. I was looking at it. I was like, because that's what when it first came to me, I was like, oh, wait, that naked time. Why did I notice that the first time? And yeah, then I actually like moved it back slightly, took a screenshot, and went, yeah, there is a load of different stuff, including the Kobayashi Maru, like almost the top. But yeah,
but it's amazing how many of them are actual episode titles of like original series, Next Gen, etc. that they've used as the title of the simulation. So it's definitely worth like a screenshot or a freeze frame and seeing how many you can recognize if you're a big Trek nerd. But I like that, I do. And
I would have loved to have seen a triple one though.
Oh man, well maybe in future, you never know. But, so yeah, the very first one we go into anyway is the Mirror Universe, obviously. So that's, we're familiar with it. We know how this works, but Marina's been told she has to infiltrate the Terran Empire, and she deviates from protocol to try and, get to them from within. But she's docked points for going against, the rules and regulations. And she's found out by Boimler because his Mariner is left-handed, not right-handed, or something like that.
That's it, yeah. And then the tripping bit, it's like, ah!
Yeah, from Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
I love that. Not one of us. That's such a cool random film reference, but I absolutely love it. Similarly, then, at the same time, Tendi is doing basically the Next Generation episode Ethics. A Klingon wants to have ritual suicide, but I love that they're taking the mick out of how stupid that episode is. That Worf's like, I'm injured, so I must die, because they're like, the Klingon like reached for something and fell over and hurt his back, and now he wants to die, and she just doesn't know how to do it.
Broke his back just for a peanut.
Yes, a peanut. That was it. Yes. And he's like, I want to die, but you've got to use my ceremonial blade. And it's the most obvious basic level of humor, but just the subversion of like, there's nothing I can do. This man's alive. Time of life.
Yeah, call it time of life. Like, no.
No. And I was like, this particular scene strikes me as the kind of thing. I don't know if you're familiar with the guy who basically invented Lower Decks. He used to write for Rick and Morty. But the reason I think that he got the job is that he had a Twitter account called Next Generation Season 8, where he just wrote like humorous subplots and stuff that might be on a fictional season 8 of Next Gen, if there was ever to be one. And this just strikes me as the sort of thing he clearly would have written in a Twitter post, as like, there was a Klingon who hurts himself reaching for a peanut. The medical officer is trying to ritually kill him, but can't find a way to do it properly. And in the end, the Klingon lives. I was like, yeah, this is his sense of humor all the way, really, isn't it? So
yeah, this entire episode is very much like the jump cut thing they do on Family Guy and all that, where they just take a random couple of seconds off and do something. This entire episode is just that. Basically, it's good fun.
It is get as many Star Trek episode related jokes as we can in one episode, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely.
Awesome. Speaking of which, Mariner is off to the Old West in a reference to various things, but probably mostly the original series episode Spectre of the Gun. But she can't do anything right. She heads to the saloon, but it's not meant to be what she does. And she tries to get on a horse, confident that she'll be fine, but she falls, even though she reckons she's got horse training.
Yeah, I think that's like 2 years of horse training, which is, our mum says later on. But it's like she falls off the horse, then the horse proceeds to start kicking her. Just for the sake of it. Like, what?
The funniest thing, though, there is that it's a callback that, spoiler alert, when we get to the point where it turns out that all of the games are rigged, the simulations by the Pandronian chick, and Mariner's like, oh, I knew it. I would never have had that problem with the horse. And she's like, oh, no, we never actually got to that one. That was fine. It's just, you were just bad at it. She's like, shut up, horses love me.
Yeah. Oddly, you mentioned the original series episode there. The actual one that dropped in my head was Fistful of Datas.
Yeah, there's so many Wild West episodes, but definitely.
Or even Red Dwarf.
Yeah, Good Men of the Apocalypse.
Yeah, that was the other one that dropped in my head when that came.
You could also say the Enterprise episode North Star, I guess, as well. Now, that's a deep cut for you. It's not really an actual Earth thing, but basically, in the Delphic Expanse, there's a group of abducted humans living with the Skagarans, and they're like Old West. Go watch it; it's good. The next one, of course, as any Star Trek fan will tell you, is basically the end of Star Trek 2, We're on a refit Constitution class ship. There's a warp core breach. Rutherford has to get into the chamber to do as Spock did and save the entire ship. But he can't do it because he tries to open the door to the chamber and just burns his hand. So he can't go in and sacrifice himself. He tries putting his boot on his hand to insulate it and everything, but he takes too long and the Enterprise blows up and everyone dies. So it's pure nerd laughs, and it is one of those like, yeah, that's a point. Why did it not just burn somebody as they were going in? But
that was the point I was going, wait a minute, what's going on here? That was like, you had 30 seconds to get into a room after entering, and the handle's hot. That's blatantly setting you up to fail.
Exactly, but it's so great that the other guy who's with him is like, "We got 20 seconds. Come on, you got to do this. I'm trying to do it, man." It just does that great comedy thing of like a pan out to the really cool looking like Enterprise Constitution class ship, quiet for a second, and then just boom, it's gone. Like failed. Yeah, awesome. But this is where the episode kind of fits into the theme I've had going on, because we get to the first part of Boimler's Borg encounter mission. Which he's very confident about because he's read everything about the Borg. So he fights off a bunch of drones, escapes from a cube in the handy Borg sphere, but he leaves behind the Borg babies, which are a nice reference back to Q-Who that's never really been addressed since that episode. So I personally appreciated that deep cut, that they were little Borg babies in a drawer, like in that episode. But yeah, because he left them behind, he gets a 79%, which he's not happy with. He wants to go back and do better. I absolutely love that even the music in these scenes is exactly the music whenever they were on a Borg cube in Next Generation. Like it's the dramatic background music, even though it's played the scene for comedy. So yeah, he just keeps on unhappy that he hasn't got a perfect score. The next time around, he does take the babies with him to rescue them, like all strapped to him, but he only gets an 83%. Next time he goes again, he rescues the babies and rescues a couple of drones, but it only gets him up to an 84%. So he's just getting more and more infuriated.
This is why we're friends, because I went and wrote down all the scores as well.
I had to. I'm kind of annoyed at the fact that like saving 2 or 3 drones only gained you 1% difference. Like what? Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's it. It so reminds me of like Boimler is basically me, because I'd be the kind of idiot that would be like, if you get a failing grade, you're locked out and you have got a pass, so you can go on. No, I need to get 100%. I know everything about the Borg. Yeah.
Especially if you've got out there alive.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. The next scene is a scene which angered certain corners of the internet, bizarrely, which is polywater intoxication, a reference to the original series episode, The Naked Time, and the Next Gen episode, The Naked Now, as we referenced earlier. I cannot believe this scene became controversial. It's clearly a joke. It's a reference to existing episodes of Star Trek. It's not out of nowhere. And it's really, really funny. I'm sorry, but it's hilarious. It's not a, savage betrayal of Star Trek's ideals. It's just funny. And the character of Mariner is exactly responding in the way that these Puritan types are acting. Like, oh, I don't want to see this. Oh. So, yeah, I have to address the fact that it is controversial. But I also have to ask
you're
your
more
thoughts.
jumped in rather than suck them through an airlock. That's what you're saying there, isn't it?
No, I'm not. No, definitely.
Join in. I see your picture. You'll join in, get naked, and everyone else is just kill everyone by killing you over.
I just think it's really funny because it really that is. It's an extreme version of exactly what happens in those actual episodes. But like I said, even Mariner's response when she's just like, nope, I failed, just fail me. I'm not doing it. And then just, like you said, blows herself out of an airlock rather than just into space rather than have to put up with it for like a minute longer. And then even later on, she's traumatized by the image of Shax just naked shouting, "It's naked time," when he's like, he's cracking his back and stuff. But I don't get how anybody can be so bent out of shape about this and be so offended by it. It's just... man, the internet, people that hate new stuff, isn't it really? So I take it you're not really one of the people that's going to claim that it's porn and it's against Gene Roddenberry's vision, and how dare we?
I mean, it's so ludicrous, it's hilarious.
That's the point. Yeah, exactly. It's
an animated show. It's not actually naked people.
Yeah.
I mean, the next episode was more suggestive.
Exactly. Thank you. I mean, it really was, but yeah, and it's like I said, it's humor. Get a sense of humor. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't look at your picture That just terrifies me.
What do you have against Brad Boimler and Jet Manhaver? Which, by the way, greatest name ever. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this. I wanted to address it, but I just think it's so silly. It might have been better if I'd had somebody on who could argue the point, but everyone that just tried to do that just comes off sounding ridiculous. But if that's you, by all means, I welcome trying to tell me what you have that's an issue, but I don't see it. So, yeah. Anyway, the fact that Mariner basically blows herself into space rather than see any more of her crewmates naked drops the ship's overall score drastically to 37%. So, yeah, we hit this point where everybody's, the ship is failing and things are not going well. But we're on a break, so everyone's in the ready room. And obviously, they've switched places, so the lower deckers are in the senior ready room, and they're enjoying the replicator recipe privileges. Except Boimler, who's still trying to do the Borg mission, of course. Yeah. So he's tried it multiple ways. He's gotten as high as 94%, but he's still not satisfied with it. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of those great, like as you said. Why isn't Boimler here?
In the background, you do see a 98%.
Do you? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, his actual score he's given was a 94, but in the background, you see his score on the wall as a 98.
Meaning he's probably had as high as a 98 and hasn't quite matched it again. So
yeah, that was his last score. Then that 100% score, which he never completed.
He did have the 100% until they told him to keep at it on, though, which is so frustrating. But no, it's great the way they cut away from that. But then we come back to Mariner, the kind of cliche, grudgingly, I must admit that jobs are hard. And Tendi speculates, hey, maybe they're feeling the same way down in the lower decks. But on the contrary, the senior staff are sort of talking about how, and again, it's a great sort of critique of some of the lower ranking Star Trek sort of extras and stuff, because it's like, today was so easy. I just had to stand in the transporter room waiting to see if anybody wanted to be beamed down. And I'm like, oh yeah, when you think about it, that is basically all that like early Chief O'Brien ever did, really, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, talking about the easy jobs and then how much better it is down there. Even the close quarters, they don't mind because it gives a chance for Dr. Tana to snuggle up next to Shax and stuff. But yeah, and then a red alert wakes them though, and they head to their actual test just to find themselves having to stack irrationally shaped crates during an attack. I love this scene because I'm so glad someone finally pointed out how stupid it is that they have hexagonal crates, and the fact that Shax even calls that out. Like, why do they look like this? It's so dumb. And then just the humor of the actual captain who's getting up to all the stuff, running around going, there's Klingons attacking, we've got to come back. Oh, you haven't seen Q down here anywhere, have you? Never mind, carry on stacking the boxes. So it's so good. But then obviously the crates all fall down, so they fail as well. So, but yeah. Thoughts on that particular thing then? Are you of the same mind as me that it's kind of amusing that they're ripping the mick out of Trek tropes and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. And it's always the senior officers who fix everything. Yeah, and things like that. You don't get some smart ensign just chipping in an idea. It's always, to take Next Gen as an example, they're having the little conference, and one of the senior crew comes up with the idea that fixes the day, and it's like, what's the rest of the crew really there for?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Stacking crates apparently, but
and standing in the transport room.
Exactly. We head to the final test then, which is, or supposed to be the final test, which is a joint exercise to basically relive Star Trek 3. They have to steal the Cerritos from space dock and rescue Spock. But there's too much bickering, particularly between, like I said, Mariner and her mum, and Mariner being distracted by Shax. So it turns out that the ship crashes into the space dock doors before Ransom can even return to ask how people want their coffee after he's been sent to get it. Like, it takes less time than that before they spectacularly fail the mission. I just love how terrible that went. It's so comical. And I've been waiting so many years for a spaceship to crash into those doors because they open stupidly slowly. So every time I've seen them, I'm like, why do they open that slow? It's an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So then they head next to the lounge where Freeman and Mariner lament their awful scores, but realize they have got a new respect for each other's duties, and think that this was the lesson all along in typical kind of sitcom style. So they head to Yem to inform her, they'll be more empathetic going forward. And she gloats that, no, your scores are bad. You're going nowhere. And plot twist, it's revealed that she is evil. She wants everyone reassigned because the whole purpose of the tests was so she could keep her job, since every other crew, obviously passed all of her tests too easily. She targeted the Cerritos after the incident where they left the lower deckers behind, which is a great way to bring the teaser to back into the episode, to make it not just like a silly throwaway joke. So yeah, there's some jokey banter about Mariner failing the horse test that I mentioned, and it's revealed that everybody is locked out except Boimler because they've all failed on their tests. But realizing that Yem can't, send escorts through to Starfleet until everything's completed, they contact Boimler, who is on 100%, and tell him that no, he has to not finish his test so that they can find a way to defeat this woman. So he has to carry on, even though he has achieved the perfect score, which is just, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So, speaking of which, inside the Borg encounter, Boimler has rescued most of the drones. He's beaten the Borg Queen at chess, taught her empathy, and is about to hit 100%. But that's when Mariner calls, obviously, and says, you can't finish. He sees his score lower as he carries on to 99%, and then it just keeps dropping. Later on, when we cut back to him, he sees the Borg Queen. He asks her, how's the empathy that I taught you? To which she just responds, we assimilated it in a really funny way. And the drones drag him away screaming, which we know where that's going, I guess. But quickly, we cut back to the Cerritos Bridge, where this really weirdly, the way that they defeat Yem in this scene reminded me a lot of the Voyager episode Scientific Method. I don't know if you remember that one. It's almost the same.
When the stars, yeah.
Yeah, Janeway's just recklessly just fly somewhere super dangerous until these things that are experimenting on us just F off from the ship, basically. I was like, it's the same plot. That's so weird. But again, we get so many nice references to Tetrion wormholes, and there's multiple crystalline entities. It must be crystalline entity season out there or something.
Yeah.
So good. But yeah, so they're insisting that Yem change their scores because they've located what they call a temporal black hole. She tries to resist, but ultimately, she gets far too scared. And the crew easily break free and point out that it was just a regular black hole. And if she wasn't such a fraud, she would have known that, darn it. So they got the best of her by just basically pointing out that it's all about experience and they know better and they know what they're doing. And it might seem like they're reckless, but, ultimately, that's the lesson, is that they're a great crew who work together well when they have to. So there you go. Couple of scenes left then. Back to the Borg encounter. Again, the key scene. Boimler is strapped to a table. He's scared and the Borg Queen just blows on his skin in a nice first contact homage, let's say. Rip it off, you could also argue. Again, same dialogue. She calls him a remarkable creature who nearly passes as human. He insists he is human, and she recommends he drinks more water because he's very pale. I love that. Yeah. So anyway, she decides to have him assimilated against his protests that he has hay fever and acid reflux, and his assimilation would probably actually be a net loss to the collective.
Yeah.
Which again, I love as a tactic to try and save your ass. It's brilliant. So yeah, Mariner tries to contact him, but he can't respond, obviously, because they head down to tell him he can finally release himself from the pod. Shax hears him shuffling about, but he insists he is Excretus of Borg now. So they cut him out when he falls out of the pod, exhausted but clearly human. He's utterly, obviously, shattered and wrecked. But all he's interested in is, did he get his perfect score? To which Tendi says, "Yeah, you did. And then we look at the wall and see that his final score was 8%. So she lied, basically.
It's the lowest score of all of them. Yeah,
of course it is. Yeah, and we just wrap things up with an ending in the mess hall where it's revealed that Yem has quit due to on-the-job stress, and Mariner and Freeman get a chance to bond because they're proud that they've ruined the career of a jerk. The senior staff wheel in a new replicator with the good food. It's like an olive branch reward. And the episode ends with Boimler excited to try the new food, and then being told that the Borg mustn't have taken his appetite, causing him to solemnly lament that the Borg took away everything he was, which is an odd thing to play for laughs, but it might be some meta commentary about how the Borg assimilation got less and less traumatic as it went on, but and it's also kind of amusing. So yeah. So that would conclude the episode. So before I move to the next kind of things about this section, is there any last thoughts or things that I haven't touched on you wanted to mention?
No, I think you've covered all the bits, really. I'd had a little skim through myself and made some notes, and if you tick the boxes, yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, the next thing that I was going to do, as I say, I've been doing this series just for a bit of an extra, flavor to it, rather than just, repeating what happened in the episode, is that I would like to know your favorite character, favorite moment, and favorite line from the episode. And I'll do the same. So we'll start with favorite characters, and I'll start with you. Who's your favorite character in this episode?
Boimler. Just for his persistence. on that. Like I passed, but I haven't got 100%. Hit me again. Hence my name.
Yeah.
You asked me at the start when I joined, why have I called myself that?
Oh,
That's
hit me
why
again!
I called myself. Hit me again,
Because yeah, viewers, listeners, he's actually listed as "Hit Me Again, Steve" on the on our screens here that you can't see, and I wasn't sure what that was a reference to, but you're right. Yeah, hit me again because he just wants to keep going and going.
Yeah.
Nice. I said the same thing. I said Boimler is too relatable not to pick. Mariner's a very close second, but I also went with Boimler as my favorite character. So, what is your favorite moment of the episode then?
What do you think it is, based off what we've discussed so far?
Is it It's Naked Time?
No, oddly enough, it is not. It's naked time.
Oh, okay. What is
Much to disappoint you, you'll get another chance.
let me think. What is your favorite moment of the episode? I can't really, can't put my finger on what your sense of humor could possibly be. I'm gonna say probably Boimler repeating the Borg mission.
No, because that's multiple bits.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the Klingon.
Oh, the ethics.
The Klingon died. It was just that. It was like, he died because he wanted to kill himself because he put it back on a peanut. That entire thing, just the farcical nature of it. And then it's like, time of life, 9 o'clock or something like stupid.
Yeah. Oh, I can't fault you with that. That is great. That's really funny. Awesome. And see, I actually did say my favorite moment was It's Naked Time because it's hilarious on its own, but it's almost more funny how bent out of shape certain people got about it.
You're a pervert. That's why. It's fine. Embrace it. It's fine.
Well, why not? What the heck?
I'm definitely not going to Photoshop that with a picture of your face and send it in.
Please don't. I'm sure certain like Kurtzman is evil characters are going to do that anyway. But, anyhow, so what is your favorite line then? Finally, from the episode.
Hit me again.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
I've written down my favorite line because I wanted to get it exactly, which I often do. And my favorite line in the whole thing was spoken by Shax, and it is just, "If they wanted us to stack these, then why are they shaped like this?"
Yeah,
because it gets to the core of a huge, like, yeah, exactly. What are you doing, Star Trek? But yeah, awesome. So the very next section then is obviously a section where I deal with the ideology of Star Trek and what people kind of respond to in it, which is the optimism and the hope and idic and what have you. And it's the thing that a lot of people would tend to refer to, probably wrongly, but would call Gene's vision. So that is the section that I call Gene's vision. So with that in mind, what do you think, from your point of view, is a takeaway from this episode that fits the kind of grand Star Trek ideology and theme?
Oddly enough, the false reason for the entire thing, getting the crew to harmonize more, that definitely fits in with what you actually expect of a Star Trek episode, really.
Yeah.
They go through some trials and toils and such, and they come out better for it as a group in the end.
Yeah, more or less word for word, exactly what I've said for my first point. Yeah, we work better together, and yeah. But even related to that, as you said, the idea that Yem has to do this because every other Starfleet crew is so good at the tests, because of course they are. They're Starfleet crews,
Yeah.
So yeah, I also like there's a lot of Easter eggs to actual kind of past adventures and stuff. I think that's very reminiscent, and I just said ultimately lighten up once in a while. The original series always had episodes that were like that, and as did all the others. And if you can't lighten up just a little bit without wanting to, tear down the franchise's current holders, then maybe you need to take a look in the freaking mirror.
Yeah,
just chill out.
Carpet.
We don't care if there's carpet. We don't care. Okay.
Well,
so anyway,
chill out, curl up on your carpet in front of your fire and relax.
Exactly.
Put on some Star Trek you do like.
Exactly. Yeah, there's plenty of it. So, any last thoughts then on the whole Gene's vision concept, or no?
No. I mean, other than that, it hit that. The whole bringing the crew together is definitely the main thing. That is Star Trek sort of ideology for me. In that the individual parts of it that encompass the actual, the show itself or that episode. Well, or all just a bit fun and not really related to Gene's vision at all. But that's not the point, really.
Well, you say that, but again, when you actually know the man, it probably, as I think somebody pointed out on Twitter the other day, it's probably closer to Gene's actual vision than a lot of actual Star Trek, more self-serious stuff would be. But people don't like to hear that, so we won't touch on that. But, fair enough. I would be interested in your conclusion and your score out of 5 Starfleet Deltas, then, Stephen. Or in this case, by the way, just for you, I can't believe I didn't do this the last time I reviewed Lower Decks, but it's not going to be out of 5 Starfleet Deltas. It's going to be out of 5 Badges.
Badges. By my previous favourite character, I believe.
Yes, exactly.
Badges.
Analysis.
Badges
conclusion
evil,
first.
Conclusion.
Yeah.
Great fun episode. Lots of Easter eggs. Recapping bits of old shows, and it really highlights the various characters really well. Yeah,
fair enough. And your score out of 5 stars or Deltas or
5
Badges or whatever.
So I recently, I looked at your list and I was like, I saw what was the top one at the moment. I was like, yeah, it's a good episode, but
there's a couple of them that have got 5 out of 5 at the moment overall. Yeah.
No, there's one I saw that had 5 out of 5, and then
as of today, there's now a second one.
oh, maybe I just need to check that list out again. Let's go 5.
5? Wow. Okay. Fair enough.
5 Badges. Really, really fun episode. Really funny.
Okay. That's fair enough. Well, I just said my conclusion was that it's an episode that shows the versatility of Trek as a franchise and why a show like Lower Decks can and should exist. There's more than enough nerdy references to give a fan thrill, but unlike some other episodes, that's not all there is, and they're in service of an overall classic sitcom plot and tropes. Crucially, the episode's also really funny, probably more so if you know the references, but I don't think that you need to. Okay, it's not exactly deep or profound. It's very cliche at times, and it's not to be taken deadly seriously, but it is also definitely not disrespectful. Quite the opposite. It's an extremely entertaining half an hour. Just know that you've come to watch Futurama and not 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I said 4 Badges out of 5. Sorry to disappoint. I didn't quite go the full 5. I couldn't bring myself to, but I went 4. So, yeah. Bearing that in mind, then, to work out an average for the podcast overall, the final score for Lower Decks, Excretus, would be 4.5 or 4.5 Badges out of 5. So picture half of a Badgie screaming in pain. I guess what we said. But there we go. So yeah, that's quite a quick one this week, but that wraps that up. And I think that's we've said all that needs to be said, really, haven't we, about that episode? So any last thoughts or anything before I go into the plugs?
Not at all. Just thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I know. Anytime, man. Anytime. We're always up to talk Trek or to hang out, so that's cool. And yeah, so did you want to pass on your social medias or where people can find you?
Out there?
Out there.
On your Facebook or via your Facebook? Because I have no other social media presence at all.
It's basically the best way, yeah. You don't really do a lot else in the internet, but you're usually around. So if anybody wants to reach him, just send me a message. I'll get it to him. But there we go. Hello, everyone. I hope you haven't ran off and left us. Just here for a bit of, I guess, a post-credit scene type situation. What I must think I'm a Marvel movie or something. But no, in all seriousness, I have been really mad busy lately, and I completely forgot to post the usual social media message asking about people's opinions on the episode we reviewed. I remembered to do it just after we'd finished recording, just to see if there was actually anybody that would be interested in sharing their views. And I actually got quite an overwhelming response. So I thought, obviously, Stephen's not here. He's gone now. He's got home. But I thought I would just pop on and maybe just read them out myself. Partly to be fair to those people who have given their thoughts and feelings on the episode, and partly because it's amazing how very different the consensus seems to be from these things, and the narrative seems to be from what the discourse was around the episode, at least in part, which I think shows that just because certain voices are louder doesn't mean they are in the majority necessarily, which is a fascinating thing anyway. So yeah, hopefully it won't be long, and I know this will be tacked onto the end of the episode. I apologize for that, but just wanted to, as I said, give everyone their own views and their opinions. So without any further
incoming
ado,
transmission.
Let's see. The first thing here is by, I do apologize, I think I've cut your official username off, but it's by someone called Gareth, at Gareth T, I think, or something like that. I do apologize. Says hilarious. If the franchise can take Abrams making it about all shooty bang bangs, then it can handle a joke based on an existing episode, and it's a holodeck sim anyway. Yeah, totally fair. At Chris Dawn 16 says, I loved it. Great mix of humor and seriousness. The type of drills used were nice callbacks to classic episodes. My favorite moment is when Mariner walks into the room full of naked people and when Boimler is assimilated. Wow, some pretty dark favorite moments, at least at the end there, but to each their own, Chris. Steve Wasling at Simmerad, a frequent commenter, says, I really enjoyed it, as with most of Lower Decks. It's a bit of a shame that idiots fixated on that one minor scene out of context. You said it, Steve, so we didn't have to. Dennis at Trekking W. Dennis says, I felt it had a fun Saturday morning cartoon vibe for the most part, crammed full of callbacks to past iterations of the franchise. The concept of the drills was a great way to overtly bring in the plots of classic episodes that made sense in universe. All in all, a fun time. Let's put a little smiley emoji. So, yeah. At Ariel K18 says, incredibly hilarious and entirely appropriate for an animated adult comedy show, which is what Lower Decks is and was always supposed to be. Voice of rationality and reason. I'm not used to this, but there we go. At Jeff NJ1701 says, hilarious, loved every minute of it, and it was my favorite episode of the series up to then. Okay. Blue Cat says, I thought it was hilarious and that poor Boimler once again sacrificed his own good for the good of the ship. I liked finding out that drunk Shax and Ta'ana are hot for each other. I don't think they have to be drunk, judging by some other episodes of that series, but fair enough. At Arthur Lamoureux says, it does no harm against the franchise. Lower Decks has its own flavour from an ever-growing kitchen. Lots of chefs over the years cooking up lots of treats for its fans. I can think of a few chefs that were not the best, but even those questionable chefs didn't harm us too much, sorry. Got lost in the metaphor a little bit there, apologies, Arthur, but yeah, that's fair enough. Kit Crump at Clemmy's2 just says, a great episode and series. At Cincinnati Phil says, every episode of Lower Decks is fantastic and adds greatly to the Star Trek universe. Absolutely love that episode and show. Yeah, okay. The Jason Cinematic Universe says, if you have a sense of humor, this episode was hysterical. If you don't have a sense of humor, this episode was hysterical. Yeah, I think you said it for me there as well, Jason, frankly, but you know what some people are like. Colin J. Wood at Colonization 2 says, after having recently read Gene Roddenberry's novelization of Star Trek The Motion Picture, full of sexual references, this episode just fits right in. It's hilarious. To which I actually responded that I've been reading that same book. I recently bought it from Amazon, and it is quite a trip. Yeah, not particularly suitable for anyone who's squeamish or prudish, shall we say. But yeah, I just said it was quite the journey reading it, and Colin replied, yeah, it is. Not what I was expecting at all, but still a fun read. Yeah, even just aside from any of that, it's very different from the original series and gives a great view, by the way, into what the kind of thing Roddenberry had intended. Some bizarre future things about mind implants and the original series crew being almost regressive in a lot of ways. And it shows his distaste for the original series by claiming a lot of it was overblown and not literally how things happened. So very fascinating, but apologies for the detour. I just thought, if anybody out there wants to buy the novelization of the motion picture, it is available on Amazon. So there we go. William Eyelash, I see what you did there, at Misanthrope says, hilarious. This show is able to pull off Easter eggs with aplomb because it doesn't base anything on them. They're just throwaway gags. The stories are original and the characters are fully developed. They have an advantage in that it's animated, so they get to be a little sillier. Yeah, I think that relates a little bit to what Stephen was saying about some of the gags and things are similar to the cutaway type jokes you get in the likes of Family Guy. And it's kind of a stablemate and kind of a sister show to shows like that, or Rick and Morty and stuff. And it's supposed to be an adult animated show. Prodigy's the child animated show. So, yeah. Wes of Deep Dive Disney says, Lower Decks is the second greatest Star Trek show of all time, right behind Deep Space Nine. No comment. And finally, Volcanic Explosion at Rebel says, most excellent, 5 stars, would recommend. So it's amazing that I didn't really see anything all that negative. I did have one person when I was discussing it on a chat board, but I do apologize, I've completely lost the username, but one person had said that this was the only funny episode of Lower Decks. They hated all the others, but this one was good. So even I think the one person that was negative and was a hater of the show still bigged up this episode. So, fair enough. And it goes to show the response overall. People could take the joke and people did love the episode. And yeah, sometimes controversies are just blown over by overblown, sorry, by people who just don't like things and want to spread hate. So let's not necessarily indulge them anymore. And yeah, obviously we've given our opinions on the episode, so we hope you enjoyed our podcast. As I mentioned, we will be back for another episode next week, as usual, on Sunday, and that will be our final regular episode, television episode review. And it'll be myself, the new recurring co-host, DK. We'll be reviewing the Discovery episode, Project Daedalus, looking at various AI and certainly Arium and control in that episode. And then the season will conclude, as we did last year, with a movie. And we will, of course, be looking at Star Trek First Contact. It's come up a few times in the Borg episodes, so yeah. And that will be being reviewed by a veritable smorgasbord, a panel of 4 people, myself included, who I will reveal closer to the time. But yeah, that will be a full episode dedicated to review of that movie, and I'm looking forward to it. So we shall see how that goes, and hopefully everyone will enjoy themselves. In the meantime, you can also catch my work over at the Silver Screen podcast. You can just type in Silver Screen podcast on YouTube, although I think there's a couple called that. The actual YouTube channel URL is Marvel Man Mike. It's my old sort of personal YouTube that I'm using. And the most recent review to have gone up there was the Venom movies, both of them, myself and DK again, reviewing those. So do check those out if you get a chance. We're also at podcast_screen on Twitter. And yeah, obviously, you know all the information for this podcast and for myself and Stephen. So all that remains now is for me to say, everyone, remember, we are Starfleet. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.